The world as we know it is practically vanishing right before our eyes. While Western tech giants are stuck in endless board meetings debating the theoretical futures of artificial intelligence, a massive metallic juggernaut is quietly rising in the East. Just imagine a world where factories literally never sleep, where hospitals are staffed by these tireless, highly precise mechanical caretakers, and where the very fabric of our global economy is quietly being rewoven by millions of autonomous metallic hands. Now, I want to be clear here. This isn't some speculative science fiction forecast. This is a rapidly accelerating reality, and it's unfolding at this exact moment, which honestly forces us to ask a deeply uncomfortable question. Is the rest of the world already too late? I mean, have we literally lost the first full industrial revolution of the robot age before we even realized they had begun? Welcome to today's Explainer. Our mission briefing for this deep dive is simple, but it is absolutely critical. Unveiling the hidden 2026 juggernaut that's reshaping global labor while the West is busy debating ethics. We're going to investigate exactly how one country didn't just enter the 2025 humanoid robotics race, but seemingly finished it altogether, mass-producing the future while the rest of the world was looking the other way. Just look at this headline for a moment from the South China Morning Post. This is the news behind today's video. Humanoids robots to drive next chapter of China's manufacturing dominance, Morgan Stanley. Strategic state-led investment and low production costs are expected to lift the nation's manufacturing export share amid deployment of advanced automation. With that said, let's go straight to the intro. The algorithm buries channels that show the truth like mine every single day. The only thing that fights back is you. One like, one subscribe, turn on the bell icon. That's how the truth about China survives on YouTube. Don't let it disappear. Thank you very much. Section 1. The Evidence. Unveiling the Data and Global Dominance. Okay, let's dive straight into the numbers from 2026, because the data paints a completely staggering picture. According to internal reports and excerpts documented in May 2026, Chinese manufacturers absolutely flooded the globe. We're talking about them accounting for a mind-blowing 90% of all humanoid robot shipments on Earth. To put that into perspective for you, while the biggest names in the West were popping champagne over shipping maybe 150 experimental units, China unleashed over 330 different humanoid models from more than 140 hyper-innovative manufacturers. They just totally bypassed the showmanship phase and went straight to mass execution. Now, check out this massive disparity in the global actuator market. If you're not familiar, actuators are the critical motors that essentially act as robotic joints and the real secret sauce. Based on those same 2026 intelligence excerpts, China controls a dominant 26% of this entire global supply chain, and the United States sitting at a mere 5%. So you see, this isn't just about assembling final units, it is about utterly owning the foundational mechanical building blocks that literally power the robotic future. So you might be wondering, how did a car supply chain morph into a robot supply chain almost overnight? Well, the answer lies in what's called the EV flywheel. Over the last decade, the world's most dominant electric vehicle supply chain was built in the East, and now they've essentially just flipped the switch. The ultra-high-density batteries, the precision LiDAR sensors, and the incredibly powerful electric motors that were once destined for highways, they're now being seamlessly repurposed to build mechanical limbs. It's a structural manufacturing advantage that no other nation can rapidly match. And the financial reality of this advantage, it's laid bare in the numbers. Sourced directly from the industrial notes, building a top-tier humanoid robot entirely outside the Chinese ecosystem is going to run a manufacturer roughly $131,000. But by tapping into that repurposed EV ecosystem we just talked about, that exact same build cost absolutely plummets to just $46,000. It is structural, undeniable mass market dominance driven by pure economic gravity. Section 2. The mechanism inside the dark factories. I want you to picture a factory floor in your mind, but there's no overhead lighting, no heating, no air conditioning. It's totally dark. Inside, humanoid robots like Ubitek's Walker series are performing flawless, tireless quality inspections right alongside the remaining human engineers. Based on recent facility reports documented in the May 2026 data, in one specific 5.5G networked lights-out factory, production efficiency didn't just improve by a little bit, it surged by an unprecedented 86%. This brings us to an absolutely crucial, deliberate paradigm shift that officials are quietly calling the empowerment paradigm. See, it's not merely about replacing human labor on a spreadsheet. It's viewed as the ultimate, inescapable physical solution to looming demographic shifts and a rapidly shrinking workforce. It's about ensuring absolute manufacturing hegemony for the rest of the century. Section 3, the Rulebook, 2026 National System Standards. So while the rest of the world is basically trying to navigate this chaotic Wild West of completely incompatible parts and heavily fragmented software, this new top-level design enforces 6 unified pillars. It standardizes everything from neuromorphic computing, which is the literal brain and cerebellum of the machine, all the way down to the specific modularization of the limbs. This meticulous governance ensures that every single robot, regardless of who manufactured it, speaks the exact same technological language. That is what makes global mass scale possible. And in life or death environments like hospitals, the application pillar enforces an ironclad protocol. Mandatory human oversight is strictly required for every single clinical decision, no exceptions. Robots are firmly limited to supporting rules behind human doctors. Furthermore, before a unit ever steps foot in a medical ward, it must pass rigorous high-assurance SIL and ESIL SITE certifications. This makes sure that scenario-specific risk assessments are totally flawless. Section 4, the climax, the great global robot divide. We are staring right at a bifurcated global reality right now. Two entirely distinct strategies locked in an unprecedented geopolitical technological conflict. On one side, we have silicon bodies. This is China leveraging massive hardware scale, that 90% of global volume we talked about, and relentless grinding cost reduction. And on the other, Western brains. The West is leveraging frontier AI sophistication, heavily backed by $109 billion in private AI capital in the immensely powerful NVIDIA ecosystem. It is the ultimate race, guys. Physical hardware dominance versus cognitive intelligence. To maintain this immense physical advantage, a highly coordinated industrial geography has formed in the East. It's honestly like a giant puzzle. Beijing serves as the intellectual nerve center, strictly dedicated to complex algorithms. Down south, the Yangtze River Delta operates as the massive systems integrator, built purely for sheer mass production. And Shenzhen, that acts as a prototype accelerator for rapid daily iteration. This creates what's known as an industrial commons, a virtuous circle of innovation that is practically impossible to replicate in isolated Western environments. The stakes of this divide are astronomical. Analysts at Morgan Stanley actively predict that this specific edge in advanced robotics machinery is going to push China's share of global manufacturing to nearly 17% by the year 2030. Think about that for a second. It is a slow, methodical capture of the actual means of global production. Section 5. Next steps. The 2030 Humanoid Blueprint. This blueprint aggressively targets all remaining foreign reliance. They are intentionally aiming to eliminate the need for critical imports like ultra-precise German ball screws. By the end of 2026, the strict goal is a 60% localization rate for all core components. Moving into 2027, they intend to deeply integrate these autonomous units into actual mass manufacturing supply chains. All of this marches toward one monumental target: 100,000 cumulative humanoid units fully deployed across society by the end of the decade. We are witnessing the birth of a completely dual-track reality in this incredible mechanical arms race. And honestly, it leaves us with one final, deeply provocative question. Is this Eastern Robot Valley just getting started in its physical dominance of the world? Or will the West Frontier AI Edge ultimately reign supreme? Mission complete. Thank you so much for joining me to decode this incredible, mysterious technological frontier today. If you found the insights in this explainer valuable, make sure to smash that like button, hit subscribe, and comment down below on what high-tech mystery we should explore next. Until next time, goodbye from the explainer.